countries represented here today in the forum, and there's a diverse representation from the government. There are about 15 ministries that are here, which include the Ministries of Finance, the Ministries of Commerce, the Securities Exchange Commission. And then we have representation from the private sector, the chambers of commerce, and the financial institutions. And finally, the civil society and the think tanks. So we look forward to a very robust discussion. I won't go much into the details because this wonderful video probably has done the trick and reduced some of my workload. So I'll start with Mr. Enrico Gavilia, who is the resident representative of UNDP Maldives. And I'll, at the outset, also thank the colleagues in the UNDP Maldives, also thank the government of UK for supporting the Climate Finance Network and this event, and I mean all the organizers. So Enrico, please.
A very good morning to you all. It gives me an utmost pleasure to welcoming you to the Asia-Pacific Blue Economy Forum. It's the first of this kind in Maldives. I was just checking before in the room to make sure that I was right, but in fact it's one of those first ones that we're arranging here in Maldives, and I do hope there will be appetite by the end of the 2 days that we're going to spend together to have more of these kind of conversations. And I think Maldives is one of those countries that is leading the overall knowledge around everything which is blue around them. And I think we will have all the seeds implanted this week to see flourishing several conversations in the future. Let me start with a word of sincere appreciation for my colleagues at the table, Minister of Economic Development, His Excellency Mohamed Saeed. It's been a pleasure to see you last night and today. In order to meet you, I had to bring a couple of friends, but I do hope we will have more conversation moving ahead. And of course, UK High Commissioner, Her Excellency Karen Roessler, great to see you again. All the Climate Finance Network team, but I do also would like to acknowledge Honorable Ali Rashim, Governor of the Central Bank. Thanks for making time for us in these busy days. And State Minister Shaheen from Ministry of Foreign Affairs, appreciating you making time for us as well. And you all that you have traveled across the region to join us. Could be the wife calling. I didn't call this morning. Yes. Okay. She will understand. But everybody who has come around the region is quite impressive, you know, the appetite to actually share the knowledge. We have colleagues coming from Bangladesh, Fiji, India, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, Timor-Leste, just to, and I'm sure I missed some countries. In some of these countries I've worked myself in the last 20 years of Asia-Pacific exposure, so it was good to see, and good to see some of the common faces. I'm a bit older than I used to be, but yeah, it's because of the good work we've been putting forward. I also would like to acknowledge the presence of our UN resident coordinator, Bradley Busetto. Thanks a lot for making time and gracing the event with us. It's a pleasure to have you here. And we're going to have 2 full days of sharing an experience. And you know, when I was thinking about that, is one of those elements, experience and knowledge, where when you share it, in fact get multiplied. It's one of those things that in the math mind of some of us is actually a concept that is quite interesting to deep in. And then I was just thinking how to bring up some of the attention on the Blue Economic Forum in Maldives. But when I landed in Maldives, the first thing I noticed, and when I was checking in an Uhulumale hotel, I noticed people sitting on the bench and looking at the sea. That was the common view that we had in front of the hotel. And so, of course, you try to to relate to a new environment. And you actually think at the eyes of those kids and child evaluating the height of the next wave to see if their sandcastle will resist the pressure of that wave. And from there, many other challenges that Maldives is confronted today. I would have seen, women maybe waiting for their fisher folks to come back with the catch of the day to put something on the table for the family. You will have to experience tuna here from Maldives. Do deep in is wonderful. And then, of course, we have, even elderly women, families looking at the sea, thinking about those who have migrated elsewhere on the other side of the ocean. And all in all, for all of you that if you had the time in these couple of days to dip into the ocean, you actually immerse yourself in a new dimension in which your body boundaries melt very nicely with the environment. And I think the beauty that you see around yourself is something that you will definitely remember. Colleagues, the blue economy is nothing else, in my mind, than the value we give to those emotions and the value that we give to what we are exposed in a country which is 99% depth into the blue ocean. The share of the blue economy in GDP of Asia-Pacific countries varies from as a low of 1% as a high of 30%. And in few island nations such as the Maldives, the GDP contribution is as high as 87%. Globally, by one estimate, it generates $3 to $6 trillion to the world economy. And if it was a country, the ocean economy would be the 7th largest in the world. But the importance of the blue economy cannot just be measured by the turnover of jobs and value added. Seas and oceans are not only the most important asset in the blue economy, they also produce half of the global oxygen and are one of the main natural carbon sinks known to mankind. The blue economy is vital for climate action. And every time I do cross the bridge from Hulumale to Male, the first thing that hits you with my Vespa on the way to Male is the breeze of the oxygen mixed with saline and things. And that is, I can, need to confess, I do breathe in quite a bit, hoping for better health into the future. But that's clear, right? It's an origin of oxygen and life for all of us. Protecting the blue economy isn't just a moral imperative. A sustainable blue economy that produces sustainability, protects effectively and prospers equitably has the potential of creating 40 times more renewable energy by 2050, 6 times more sustainable food by 2050, and we were just discussing right now the potential, for example, of creating a brand from Maldives on the salt. You have so much in abundance here. 12 million new jobs by 2030, 15.5 trillion in net benefit from sustainable ocean in investment by 2050. The numbers are striking, at times very abstract out there. Our job is to make them land as quick as we can to make an economy run in alternatives of a fossil fuel run economy, which of course we are all exposed to the challenge with. The UNDP Climate Finance Program, generally supported by the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office of the United Kingdom, is proud to host this event with the Minister of Economic Development and the Government of Maldives, and I would like to thank the Ministry and FCDO again for the support to make this regional gathering together. We had a good chat yesterday with Jonathan, and thanks a lot for making time and supporting this as well from your desk. Like many ocean-rich countries, Maldivians have been custodian of this vast ocean and resources for centuries. A legacies passed down through generation. The pond and line fisheries, which fish are caught one by one, are actually one of the best experiences you can actually have on a fish boat here. I did try once, and I have to confess I put the fish back because I felt bad about it. But it's a model of sustainable and appropriate fishing that is actually very respectful of everything which is in the ocean and the life that generates and the income that can be generated. When I will leave Maldives, I will leave probably with one prayer. Do protect the sea. Do respect the sea. Do value its life. Maldivians in the ancient folk stories do have lots of stories about Maldives and everything that comes from the oceans. But the love and care that you can generate back from the ocean is something to treasure for the generation to come. And maybe before leaving, sitting on a bench, Maldives, if we are lucky, we may still see that old man riding on the fin of the sea whale, which has given him long-lasting friendship with nature. Thank you very much.
So I'll now request Mr. Gerd Trogeman, who is the Manager, Regional Program and Global Policy Network, UNDP Bangkok Regional Hub. And Gerd will be joining us virtually from Bangkok.
You can't hear me well. Let me just double check. Is that the case?
Yes, we can hear you good.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much, Asad and Enrico. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, I'm very pleased to welcome all of you to this Blue Economy Forum, also on behalf of the UNDP Regional Hub for Asia and the Pacific, and on behalf of the Climate Finance Network we are hosting here in Bangkok. Let me join my colleague Enrico, our resident representative in the Maldives, in thanking our partners and co-conveners, the UK's Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, FCDO, and the Maldives Ministry of Economic Development and Trade. Ladies and gentlemen, ocean-based economic sectors not only contribute around $2.5 trillion to the global economy and provide livelihoods for almost 3 billion people globally, the blue economy also bears a significant responsibility and opportunity to contribute towards the international goals on climate change, pollution, biodiversity, and sustainable development. Coastal and marine ecosystems such as mangrove forests, seagrass meadows, and salt marshes act as highly efficient carbon sinks and provide habitats for terrestrial and marine species, mitigating greenhouse gas emissions and conserving biodiversity. At the same time, they also offer co-benefits for climate adaptation by acting as natural barriers against sea level rise, storm surges, and tropical cyclones. The ocean can also provide a significant source of renewable energy through wind, tidal, and wave energy. These clean and sustainable sources complement land-based renewable energy sources and would be particularly effective for land-scarce countries. While the concept blue economy holds enormous promise, realizing its potential calls for multi-stakeholder engagement through marine spatial plans to enable conservation and restoration and to achieve economic and social objectives inclusively and sustainably. It also calls for a new financial and more effective use of existing finance mechanisms to address ocean governance and blue economy related investment needs. This is why this gathering brings together representatives from ministries of finance, economic development, environment, and other ministries, as well as from partners, financial institutions, the private sector, and NGOs. It also brings together colleagues from UNDP's sustainable finance and environment teams. Supporting blue finance and blue economy is important for all countries in the region with a coastline. It is also even more important for small island development states, the SIDS, or for large ocean states, for whom marine resources are vital for climate resilience, food security, employment, economic growth, and tourism. It is critical for the very culture and identity of the SIDS and the large ocean states. I understand that representatives from several SIDS are with you in the Maldives today. I hope that the discussion over the next 2 days will not only prove useful for informing the SIDS4 conference taking place later this month in the Caribbean, but also for focusing attention on the systemic solutions required to address the special situations of the SIDS here in the Asia-Pacific region, to complement the actions taken at national levels. This is also where the Climate Finance Network generously supported by the governments of the United Kingdom and Sweden, can play an important role. As many of you may be aware, the CFN is a peer-to-peer network anchored with the Ministries of Finance in 18 countries in the Asia-Pacific region, many of whom are represented with you at this forum today. Through the CFN, UNDP is supporting countries in a number of important work streams. Those include the integration of climate as part of budgetary planning processes, access to international climate finance, the development of innovative financing instruments, mainstreaming gender and social inclusion, modeling for economic impacts, and, of course, enhancing transparency and accountability. The agenda for this forum covers central themes around ocean governance and the importance of investing in communities and resilience, as well as financing for the blue economy, including the role of the private sector and emerging financing instruments. Our aim and ambition is that this Blue Economy Forum will serve as a forum to strategize about how we best and collectively support the transition to sustainable and resilient blue economies. With your support, our UNDP team looks forward to identify specific follow-up actions and steps to take this discussion forward. We hope that this knowledge exchange will benefit the region in augmenting the blue economy space and inform the CFN's support to blue finance and the marine sector in the region. Ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude with a word of thanks and appreciation again to our hosts in the Maldives and our co-conveners for this forum, and to thank each of you for joining and contributing to this important event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gert. And I'll now welcome Mr. Bradley Busito, the United Nations Resident Coordinator, Maldives. Mr. Bradley.
Good morning. Distinguished guests from the Government of Maldives, including the Minister of Economic Development and Trade, Excellencies from the Diplomatic Corps, civil society organizations, private sector partners, academia, and my dear colleagues from the UN, and a special recognition and thank you both to the UK for supporting this, and to Enrico and the team at UNDP here for organizing all of this. Assalamu alaikum and very good morning to you all. With great pleasure and anticipation, I too extend a warm welcome to each of you to the Asia Pacific Blue Economy Forum here in Maldives, set against the backdrop of our vast oceans, which not just cover 70% of the Earth, but maybe more importantly, comprise 90+% of all habitable, in other words, livable space on Earth. We here gather upon a pivotal dialogue, I think, centered on the crucial role of the private sector and small and medium-sized enterprises to foster sustainable blue economies across the region. The world's finally starting to understand, I think, the power and potential of the blue economy. The UN Environment Program estimates the economic benefits of the blue economy to be worth more than 1.5 trillion per year globally, while providing over 30 million jobs. And I think the OECD, in fact, indicates that the ocean economy may double in size to 3 trillion by 2030. And so to start with, what do we need to do? We need to recognize the diverse array of initiatives and strategies already being implemented across the globe to foster sustainable blue economies. From Samoa to Trinidad and Tobago, nations are harnessing the potential of their maritime resources to drive economic growth while ensuring environmental stewardship and social inclusivity. And drawing from these successful initiatives around the world, including also Australia's National Maritime Science Plan, Madagascar's Blue Venture Initiative, and Sweden's Green Shipping Program, and even the EU's Blue Growth Strategy, we're inspired by the possibilities of sustainable ocean development. These examples underscore the importance of holistic approaches, innovative solutions, and inclusive governance to unlock the full potential of the blue economy. Now, on the Maldives, The Maldives, with its vast, very vast, exclusive economic zone, I think one of the largest in the world, is obviously a natural candidate to become a global leader in the blue economy. But it must link innovative ideas with intentional policy, right? It's not just the ideas and the technology and innovation, but real policy and real will to maximize the sustainable growth outcomes for the stewardship of its oceans. And this doesn't mean just its fisheries, but can also include innovation in renewables, as the previous speaker mentioned, using the ocean, marine biotechnology innovation, innovations around waste management that could be exported. And I look forward personally to hearing much more about all of this, very practical notions of how to strengthen the blue economy. I look forward to learning more about specific new opportunities in the blue economy in Maldives and beyond, and how to maximize those opportunities through creative new blue finance mechanisms. We know that the returns can be huge. A recent study estimated the positive climate benefits generated through ocean blue finance, through ocean blue finance can see $1 invested in ocean action returning $5 in benefits. Yet so far, investment in sustainable ocean initiatives remains disproportionately low, with funding going towards SDG 14, life below water, languishing among the least funded sustainable development goals. So we need to fundamentally change our approach, directing all of our energy towards leveraging the innovation assets of the private sector. And I think this forum is thus a huge opportunity for exploring innovative financing mechanisms, nurturing these public-private partnerships, and unleashing the transformative potential, especially of SMEs, which are in fact the lifeblood of the economy all around the world, to power the blue economy. And now I recall something really important that the minister mentioned to me last evening in a lovely dinner we had overlooking the ocean. He stressed that we need to act with urgency, with speed, right now, to protect our oceans and to secure the sustainable development of the Maldives, but all other people's reliance on the oceans. And in fact, that means all of us. With that, I'd like to say thank you very much for this opportunity and look forward to collaborating with you for the next couple of days. This is a really important opportunity for all of us to come together and come up not just with interesting dialogues, but I hope also with real actions, both in the short term and the long term. This, as Enrico mentioned, this is the first such dialogue like this in Maldives, and I think this is a really, really important opportunity, an urgent opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bradley. And I'll now request Her Excellency Karen Rossler, British High Commissioner to the Maldives.
Minister for Economic Development and Trade, Your Excellency Mohammed Said, Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Sharina Abdul Samad, Governor of the Central Bank, Ali Hashim, UNDP Resident Representative, my good friend Enrico Gavelia, UN Manager of the Regional Programme and Global Policy Network, joining us online, Gerd Trogman, and UN Resident Coordinator in Maldives, Bradley Bussetto, members of the Diplomatic Corps, UN colleagues, delegates including government representatives, members of civil society, private sector organisations and academic institutions. Salam alaikum and good morning. It's my pleasure and privilege to address you with some words of welcome at the start of this workshop on financing the blue economy. The UK funded this workshop and funds the UNDP's Climate Finance Network in the Indo-Pacific through our £274 million Climate Action for a Resilient Asia programme, known as CARA. Combined with our support for sustainable marine management and maritime security, it's our hope that this partnership will help deliver a sustainable, prosperous and resilient Maldives and region. Ladies and gentlemen, I've had the privilege of serving in Maldives for almost 5 years and in Seychelles for 4 years before that. It's a tough job, but somebody has to do it, hey? Now in my 9th year living in islands of the Indian Ocean, I have a sense of the particular sustainability challenges facing island nations and coastal states. And one of the key points for me is that while there is a toolkit one can draw upon that might include, for example, innovative finance, ocean governance, investment opportunities, SMEs, inclusion and gender equity, and public-private partnerships, these tools must be tailored to the unique challenges each country faces based on their geography, population, demographics, social structures, not to mention the different ecosystems and biodiversity for which they are stewards and custodians. About 3 billion people rely on the ocean for their food security and livelihoods, with those in developing or otherwise vulnerable countries particularly dependent on the ocean. A central challenge for all of us here today is how to generate economic growth and jobs while conserving and sustainably benefiting from the ocean's natural assets. This is particularly so for governments and politicians in large oceanic states or small island developing states such as Maldives. The challenge is accentuated by the triple planetary crises of climate change, biodiversity loss and pollution. It is brought into even starker relief by the fact that economies around the world, and particularly those heavily dependent on tourism, are still recovering from the still relatively recent pandemic. And conflicts and their impact on global fossil fuel prices adds to the difficulties of business as usual economies dependent on the import of large volumes of diesel and petrol for electricity and transport. Young people are bearing the brunt of this problem. Many experience climate anxiety, feel powerless and despondent, and some want to migrate in the pursuit of opportunities. Yet they could and they should be at the heart of the solution. The blue economy offers the prospect of rewarding, decent, sustainable jobs, and the youth in turn are the people who will deliver a sustainable future economy. Any blue economy must invest heavily in its young people, equipping them with the skills needed for a sustainable world. The UK is working with the Government of Maldives through our Blue Planet Fund's Ocean Country Partnership Programme to provide technical assistance to support sustainable marine management, whilst also supporting the education and training of young people to prepare them for jobs in the blue economy. The Blue Planet Fund is the UK's £500 million global programme supporting developing countries to protect their marine environments and reduce poverty. Conservation and the sustainable use of marine resources is the first step towards a healthy blue economy, which is why the Blue Planet Fund is developing the capacity of national institutions in the Maldives and many other countries to manage marine protected areas and tackle marine pollution and illegal, unregulated and unreported fishing. Fostering small and medium-sized enterprises for sustainable blue economy is another important part of the solution and a catalyst for growth. And we're therefore particularly happy that our CARA funding enabled UNDP to map opportunities for such businesses in the Maldives blue economy and to go on to match these businesses to investors. It's also through this partnership that this workshop has come about. Mobilising climate finance and developing the capacity of government, the private sector and civil society to absorb and deploy is a top priority for the UK government, and one upon which we are proud to have collaborated closely with the Government of Maldives during many years of climate negotiations. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you an enjoyable and productive couple of days. I hope you will leave having shared valuable lessons from your own countries and experiences, and having learned something from other delegates here. Just as people all over the world have been enthralled and inspired by the majesty and power of nature by seeing the aurora borealis and the aurora australis stretch far north and south this week, sadly not quite as far as the equator, I hope that the beautiful surroundings of Maldives, so fragile and threatened by the effects of climate change, inspire you and remind you of the urgency of our endeavours towards sustainable blue economies. And for the Maldivian delegates here, I hope that having guests from the region reminds you of what you have around you and that you are not alone in facing these challenges. Just before I leave the stage, I can't resist, I mentioned climate anxiety before, and I can't resist the opportunity of a gathering like this to do a quick straw poll of the audience. You all familiar with climate anxiety? I'm sure you've read about it. Put your hand up if you've experienced climate anxiety in the last week, in the last month, in the last year. Okay, so you're here, so I'm not too surprised by that. But I think this is something we don't really talk about. We're only starting to talk about is how these problems affect us emotionally as well and psychologically. And as far as I've figured out, the only antidote to this is to do something. So well done for being here and doing something. Thank you.
Thanks, Her Excellency Karen Rossler, and thank you also for raising this issue of climate anxiety that we all suffer. And in the end, I'll request Mr. Mohammed Saeed, the Minister for Economic Development and Trade, Government of Maldives.
Oops. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Mr. Enrico Gavelli, Resident Representative of UNDP Maldives. Mr. Gard Troman, Manager Regional Program and Global Policy Network of UNDP. Mr. Bradley Bussetto, Resident Country Coordinator of United Nations. Her Excellency Karen Rossler, British High Commissioner to the Maldives. Senior officials, honorable guests, esteemed participants. I'm delighted to be here at the Regional Asia-Pacific Dialogue on Blue Economy, co-hosted by the Ministry of Economic Development and Trade in partnership with UNDP. This forum, held at this breathtaking surrounding of Villa Nautica Maldives Paradise Island, brings together key stakeholders, experts and leaders from across the region to discuss one of the most critical issues of our time, the sustainable and resilient development of the blue economies. Our gathering here today is a poignant reminder of our shared global responsibility to promote sustainable and resilient growth of our blue economies. As a nation deeply connected to the ocean, the government of Maldives recognizes the importance of harnessing the ocean's potential while conserving its delicate ecosystem in promoting and rolling out investments within the blue economy. Our government's manifesto aims to promote sustainable tourism development, protect marine biodiversity and ecosystems, and support fisheries and agriculture sectors. Our participation in this forum aligns with the development agenda of President Dr. Muiz and shares our commitment to sustainable development and protection of our island communities.
The institutional investors, shareholders, and experts present here today will deliberate over a wide range of topics over the next 2 days. My hope is that these discussions lead to concrete solutions and actionable outcomes that underscores the importance of sustainable and resilient blue economies for island communities. In my capacity as the Minister responsible for overseeing the overlapping and complex issues that contribute to the economic growth trajectory of the Maldives, I propose 3 areas which I hope the forum discussions will prioritize and which are also very relevant to the Maldivian context. Firstly, the role of innovative financing mechanism in raising funds for sustainable investments. While blue bonds and blue loans are an excellent way to raise funds for sustainable investments, the documentation requirements and legal intricacies involved makes it challenging for developing countries like ours to access these financing options. We need to explore avenues that leads to simplification of the process and provide support for compliance measures to these options become more viable for countries that need them the most. Secondly, we need to prioritize the role of the private sector and SMEs. These sectors contribute significantly to employment opportunities and the positive health of economies like ours. However, they face significant challenges, including limited access to finance, limitation in access to technology and infrastructure, capacity building support, and suboptimal regulation frameworks. I believe discussion should strive to find ways to promote innovative financing mechanisms that lower the cost of capital and increase access to finance. At the same time, we need solutions on how to strengthen private sector partnership, promote capacity building, and while reducing regulatory burdens to promote adaptation of sustainable initiatives in trade and commerce activities. And lastly, the promotion of gender equality and inclusivity in economic development is a critical area that cannot be overlooked. It is not just a matter of principle, but also common sense to involve all members of society in economic development, especially women. Women bring unique perspective and skills to the table, and yet their contributions often go unrecognized and their potential remains untapped. While each country's progress in terms of gender equity is measured differently, I urge all stakeholders to come up with the concrete solutions that can help address the unique challenges faced by women in economic participation. While the promotion of access to education, training, and financing for women in various sectors remain critical, the need to address cultural prejudices and stereotypes that limit women's participation need more robust policies. Only by doing so, we can create a society that is truly equitable and inclusive and maximize on its benefits. On that note, I will leave the experts to tackle the challenging issues, to put all your collective and brilliant minds together to come up with innovative ways to address the inherent complexities and challenges of the world we live today. I urge everyone to engage in open and constructive dialogue, to share your knowledge, experience, and ideas freely. Together, I'm certain that we can pave the way for a future where our oceans are healthy, vibrant, and teeming with life, where coastal communities thrive, and where sustainable development is not just a goal, but a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Excellencies and my UNDP and UN colleagues for those inspiring words. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be doing a group photograph now. That's a bit of an exercise in orchestration. So please bear with us. We've accounted for a good 10 minutes for this endeavor. May I first request, if our plenary group could come up on stage here, and then I'll also request everyone else to also join immediately after that, but perhaps first. Either way, it could be down below or it could be on stage. I think on stage in front might be better because we'll expect a few rows to come together. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so if we can perhaps take, just one quick photo of the group, of the plenary group, please. Where the photographers are, yeah, if they can organize. And our director, Kunnuj, yes. Yes, perfect.
And then come forward a little bit.
No, yeah. Perfect. Thank you. And while that's happening, if I could request everyone else to please come up as well. Please self-select, and we'd like to form 2 rows on the stage and 2 rows down below. So colleagues, if UNDP colleagues can please direct everyone to come up. Please mind the wires on the right side.